Welcome to Radio Toni and the Passion Project. Join us live each week as we journey into the world of passion. Want to live life passionately? Finding your passion could be the difference between living life in the everyday and living life with meaning and purpose. Take these weekly lessons into life and business. Interact with your host, Toni and her Passion Project facilitator, Peter Wallman, as we conduct a passion mapping exercise with Toni live on air. Passion is everything. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, America. Welcome to Radio Toni and the Passion Project. This week, we'll be talking about creating a rich vision for the future. So our topic is visioning, and I have the most delightful guest with us today, Elise Tucker. Elise is a human resources consultant, a coach, author, and speaker. And as a human resources expert, she focuses on identifying areas that need improvement with the vision to develop and implement successful action plans. She's a successful background in both strategic HR planning and is highly capable of the daily hands-on HR professional work. She's currently Director of Human Resources for a women-owned small business. Elise is the visionary behind Elise Enterprises, an organisation designed to equip and empower individuals to reach their full potential in the areas of personal and career development and physical, spiritual and mental awareness. I'm delighted to have Elise on the program, and at the end of our session I want to introduce you to her amazing book called 50 Things I've Learned on My Way to 50, and it's a glimpse into Elise's life. But good morning, Elise.
Hi, Toni. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm so delighted that you could come on the show today. It's wonderful to have a fellow American on the show to join me and talk about what your life has been and how it's unfolded. And so let's start with, were you always interested in human resources?
Wow, that's a great question. Actually, no. I kind of stumbled into human resources. I started when I came out of college. I did a number of things, and human resources came about. I'd say about 8-9 years after I started doing some permanent placement, and then I was in charge of doing temporary placement, and then I got more into all of the general pieces of human resources, and I haven't turned back.
Yeah. So you didn't start with your own business though. You worked for other companies and yeah.
Yes, I didn't. Elise Enterprises, actually, I just started a couple of years ago, but I have been working in the HR industry, boy, I would say most of my career.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And what sort of a journey has that been for you? What sort of places has it taken you? What sort of things have you been able to do in the realm of HR or human resources?
Sure. Well, initially, like I mentioned, I did permanent placement for a couple of years, and then I went back in the late 80s, early 90s. I did some work with a temp placement agency, and then I started work with the company that I am with now, with Human Resources. And there it started with training. We were doing some training, some marketing and communications. And then I did more or less kind of the overall management of one sector of a small desk. And then I moved into the corporate office, where I started doing just a full range of human resource activities. We are small, so we wear a number of hats. So anything from recruiting to benefits. But I must say the piece that I enjoy most, of course, is working with people in their positions that they have.
Yeah,
And then also kind of exploring, opportunities where they want to go next and things out of that realm.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So, for those listening and watching, human resources is a big job. There's lots
It
of
is.
components that go into managing human resources. And it's
Hmm.
not just recruitment and retention, it's about training and professional development. And so it's a big job, isn't it, Aletha?
It is. It's a big job, and it's definitely one that I said we're small and we wear a lot of hats. Definitely, we have a number of people who work in that arena with me. We all pull together to get whatever it is that needs to be done. A lot of the positions that we have are for technical resources.
Ah, yes,
So a lot of the training, they already come having that training. And then, of
yeah,
course, it's just maintaining it and recertifications. And also, like I said, finding out what's next for them, where they want to go, where they are
yeah,
now, how they want to
yeah,
explore their career.
yeah.
Hmm.
Is it hard for people to keep up with all the technological advances that we're seeing? I know, and I'll be the first to admit that I struggle to keep up with the fabulous stuff that seems to be coming out. Is that a challenge you find, Aletha?
It is absolutely, mainly because, like you said, technology just keeps advancing because there's a need for it to
Yeah,
advance in the technical arena. So there
yeah,
are always upgrades and new products doing different things.
yeah,
So, for that reason, we have to take into account that all of our employees will probably have to go to some type of training during the year. It's seldom that anyone goes without training in the positions
yeah,
that we have. They are always having to go to the next level.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So, knowing that your background is in human resources, how did
Hmm.
you get started with Passion Maps? And let's explore that experience of yours and
Sure.
uh, and let our listeners know what it's meant to you to do the passion mapping process.
Sure. So I started Jolie's Enterprises a couple of years ago, and
Uh huh.
basically just to expand further on what I had been doing already, which was helping people to kind of find what they wanted to do,
Yeah.
helping them with searching for jobs, helping them with kind of coming up with the kinds of tools that they needed, whether
Yeah.
it be mindset tools
Yes.
or actual job tools that they need
Yeah.
to advance to what I like to refer to as their dream career,
Yeah.
which is a lot different from a job. So, in
Absolutely.
there, I really realized somewhere along the time that I started doing this, I realized, I really need to identify my passions. What am I really
Yeah.
passionate about?
Yeah.
Um, and it was shortly before I wrote the book that kind of tells the
Yes.
journey of my life and the little lessons I've learned along the way. But it was around then that I really kind of tuning into passion a bit. And
Mm-hmm.
so recently, I came across Peter and Passion Maps and
Yeah.
decided to do one. And it was so really life changing,
Yes.
just altering to
Yes.
find out, to really do that deep dive and see where your energy, where those passions come from or where they are. And
Yeah.
after that, that's what sparked my interest, and I have been furthering it.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you happy to share with share with us some of those elements of your particular passion map that excite you the most?
Sure. So the one that is really my anchor, the one that really steadies me is my foundation in Christ. So that is
Yes.
the one that all of mine kind of branch off of. One is vitally me, meaning, just looking out for the healthy side of me
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just, trying to get healthier mental and physically in
Yes.
that arena. One other that I have is I refer to my children. I have a passion for
Yes.
them that I call my precious jewels.
Yes.
Um,
How
Going
many
through
children have
life's
you got,
journey.
Aletha?
I have two. I
Yeah.
have one who has just completed his first year of college,
Yeah.
and then my oldest just completed one half of her master's program. So she just got her
Oh,
master's.
wow. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
yeah.
It's lovely when they get to that adult age where they start to find their own way in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I have found that the most fascinating, to see where they
Yes,
go and what they do, and just be
yes.
more in the background as that
Mm-hmm.
guiding, gentle uh, reminder, and to be able to share in their wins, and when life's tough, it's really enjoyable. And then you get grandbabies, Aletha, and
Yes.
grandbabies are the best gift ever.
Oh, wow. I'm excited. I'm waiting. My daughter keeps saying, don't hold your breath.
I know, because they wait so long nowadays,
They
Aletha. Like
do.
they go on and on and on and on, and you think, oh, I'm never going to have those grandbabies.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm looking forward to that day, though. I am.
Oh, you will love it. I'm telling you,
Yes.
it's wonderful being a parent, but there's something special and precious about being a nana. It's
Yes.
it's wonderful. And so once you've done your passion mapping exercise,
Hmm.
how did that help you in life and business?
It really, I knew I felt I knew what I was passionate about, but having
Yeah.
gone through the entire mapping exercise, it just kind of solidified things. And it brings about a sense of wholeness, to be
Yes.
able to look at this map and really say, this truly represents my passions. And this is
Yeah.
what, these are the things that pull me into the person that I am.
Yeah.
And I want to go more and do more in the future
Yeah.
with my profession as well as my personal life
Oh,
with my
definitely.
passions.
Yeah.
So what I plan to do actually in the next few months, of course,
Yes.
I will definitely be offering the passion mapping to individuals that I work with, individual clients that I see through
Fantastic.
Elise Enterprises as well, as
Yeah.
we try and do a deep dive on passion. I have a real passion for
Yes.
helping women
Yes.
and helping women around my age. We've been
Yeah.
working for a while,
Yeah.
and kind of approaching that retirement age. And
Yeah.
we've been around long enough to have a family, and, some
Yeah.
of us are going on to grandchildren.
Yeah.
So, for many women at this point, it's the time to determine, okay, so what do I do next? you
Yes.
know, Let me try to move a little more into the areas that I'm passionate about. And I really
Yes.
want to work more with women in doing that,
Yeah.
helping them to
I
find it and then showing them.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think that there's something very special about the aging process and the wisdom that you gain as you age, and the
Hmm.
ability, because you and I, we will be looking forward to long, wonderful, fulfilling lives because of
Yes.
the advances in medicine and technology and all the rest of it. So
Hmm.
once those fundamental child rearing time is, it comes to an end, that's the time of our life that we can really do wonderful things in our lives and for the people around us. And so I love your vision for Jolly's Enterprises. That
Yes.
sounds fantastic. I'm sure it will be just wonderful for you to be able to help other women our age decide and determine what their passion is, because you are absolutely right. It gives you a certain
Hmm.
sense of clarity, and just looking at your passion map just immediately takes you, okay, so that doesn't quite sit well. That's not part of what is fundamentally me. It's a
Right.
great checkpoint, isn't it? Have you found
Yes, it
that?
is.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it's really helped me to kind of zero in on some things, you know.
Yes.
For example, I've known that for quite some time that I've had a passion for service. Well, what
Yes.
about that? You know, where do I really have a passion for serving, and why is that such a passion? And, you
Yeah.
know, being able to dig deep on that has really, really just, like I said, or like you said, given me
Yeah.
a sense of clarity about it all, which is
It
awesome.
does, doesn't it? It really
Hmm.
it helps cement things. And if you're a bit undecided about something, just a quick glance at that map, and it certainly becomes, I know for me, it
Yes.
certainly comes clear. Yes, that's right. No, that's not. Very
Right.
good having done that process. Um,
Sure.
I wanted to, before we run out of time, is talk about
Hmm.
your book. And your
Oh,
book's called 50 Things I've Learned on My Way to 50, which is an awesome title. Can you tell me
yes.
how you come up with the concept and the title and what the book means to you?
Sure, absolutely. I um I had been I was writing this book for quite some time, and it
Yeah,
was when I turned it was a few years after 50, let's say that,
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
I
yeah,
finally published it. But the thought came about because as I was approaching my 50th birthday, I felt like I wanted to do a huge celebration, and
yeah.
I felt like I needed to, you know, be able to have something at the celebration that really kind of showed, you know, what I've done in 50 years. And
Yes.
I had just really been beating myself up about it, losing
Mm,
sleep. What can I say? What have I done?
mm,
And then it just came to me, you know, you have survived 50 years, and the
yes.
little things that have happened in your life have turned into major lessons. And then it dawned on me, you know, just living everyday life isn't always so easy.
No, it's not.
So let's put these little lessons in a book, and who knows,
Yeah,
perhaps someone else can benefit from the things that I've learned on my
yeah,
way. And so that's why the subtitle is Sharing My Journey,
yeah,
because that was the goal, to share my journey. Because if it can help someone else in any way, no matter how
yeah,
small or
yeah,
major, that's
yeah.
definitely what I want to do. And it's very special to me because I wrote it um, during a time when I finished it during a time when my father was in his last stages with cancer. He was diagnosed and he passed
Oh,
away rather quickly. It was a very tumultuous time.
oh,
I had had C-spine surgery,
yeah,
and you know he was going through the process of yeah, of journeying on.
yeah,
And so I dedicated to him because I
yeah,
learned so much even during that time. And the
yeah.
major thing that I got from him was the need to serve. And for that
Mhm.
reason, that's the reason why I do what I do
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Jolise and on my job as
yeah,
the HR director.
yeah. So you've got this lovely little company. You've got your wonderful book. You also do some
Mhm.
speaking,
I
Elisa.
do.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do you
I
do that across
speak
the country and internationally, or how does that work for you?
just domestic within
Yeah,
the
yeah,
US. I
yeah,
have done, I've spoken, I've been at various uh, platforms where job skills are needed,
yeah.
and I do a talk on the basic skills of going out and finding a job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also do seminars for women, and we
Yeah.
talk a lot about the journey, the book. I have these things called
Yes.
journey shares, which are
Yeah. Yeah.
small groups of women that meet and discuss a topic, and who knows where it may go once we
Yeah.
leave that area. They'll be partnered and accountability partners just to
Yes.
help each other as they navigate their journey.
Yeah.
So I have
Yeah.
done conferences around that as well. And then I have done some things where I've been the speaker as we launch books. I've been a part of an anthology a couple of times. So we've
Yes.
had some speaking engagements around that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic.
Mhm.
So I also wanted to ask you, this pandemic, COVID-19,
Mm.
has been very
Mhm.
different in Australia as compared to the US. And when I was thinking about you this morning before the program, I'm thinking there's been a huge amount of job loss across the US. We've
Yes.
had job loss in Australia, but it's massive in the US. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering how you think that what you do may be able to help those people that just might be listening or watching who've lost their job.
What I started doing actually with my Facebook posts during the
Yeah.
pandemic, I have been sharing things to help people to cope
Yes.
during this time. I call it Wednesday work
Yeah.
or Work Wednesday. I sometimes
Yeah.
switch up the title, but it includes information on, just what do you do now that you're working from home? What are
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah.
things that you can do to better your skill set so that when it is time for you to go back into the office, you will have an additional skill set under your belt? And then
Yeah.
the huge thing that I've been seeing is the amount, of course, of video conferencing, and
Yes.
everything is virtual now. So
Yeah.
I've been trying to share information on how, businesses are taking everything virtual.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for employment, tune into some of the virtual things that are going on. And you're right, it's difficult. The unemployment
Mm.
rate just keeps
Yeah.
soaring.
Yeah.
It is my prayer that we'll get back soon to the point where we can open up businesses, but much more important, of course, is getting people healthy and
Yeah.
flattening the curve here.
Yeah.
So those
Yeah.
are some
Yeah.
of the things that I've been doing and
Yeah.
encouraging people to do. Look for things that you can do during the pandemic that
Yeah.
will make you greater than you are right now when you come out of it.
And some of those things would be around being or familiarizing yourself with some of those technology, particularly, um, and you would have a better understanding of this than I would, but I'm not sure that businesses will transition back to the way that they did things. I kind of think that
Mhm.
a lot of what we've done and are doing in terms of technology with Zoom and Skype and all the rest, those things are probably here to stay. Do you think that that's what will happen, Aletha? That the
Absolutely.
convenience of online will be the thing that transpires across business in general?
It definitely will, particularly here in the
Yeah,
US, because, we keep hearing about, things will have another soar possibly in the
yeah,
fall. And so then we're
yeah,
back to square one. We're shutting everything down. And
yeah,
every business that I've been in contact with, and even just friends and family in the
yeah,
area, everyone is talking about when things do start to return to normal,
yeah.
having a policy where the hours are split. You work some from home,
Yes,
maybe a couple of days. And this has really forced us to grasp and take a hold of
yeah,
technology. For those of
yeah,
us who aren't so technology savvy, we've learned to
mm.
do Zoom, and
Yes,
we see that we can actually do the work that we do virtually. And
yes,
now that that's been proven, employers are a lot more open to having that be an integral part of what we do in the future. So I think we will be
yeah.
seeing a lot of that.
I was going to say that there are so many good things that come from allowing people to work from home and have flexible
Hmm.
hours. I know my husband has been working home. He's a computer programmer, and
Mm-hmm.
it's enabled him to have such a better quality of life, because before the pandemic he was on the train for 2 hours to and from work each day. So that's, just under 4 hours travel each and
Wow,
every day. And so
that's a
putting
lot.
that time back into his time has had a wonderful effect on his life. And I'm hoping that that's one of the things that companies will embrace, in allowing
Mm-hmm.
their people to do some of that work from home and Zoom into meetings, etc., because it really does improve people's life balance, and
Mm-hmm.
allows them to follow their passions and
Exactly.
become better employees by doing that. Do you
Yes.
think that the more employees are engaged and balanced, they make better uh, parts in a company, don't they?
Yes, they do. Statistics, numerous studies have shown that when you get the work-life balance right, your employees
Yeah,
are happier, a lot more productive, and of course, that makes the business far more successful.
yeah.
So definitely, definitely, I think it will make a huge difference.
So part of your work as an HR consultant, would it incorporate some of those things, and some of that expert analysis for companies that you work with? Is that something that you do, Aletha?
I I haven't had to do a lot of analysis
Yeah.
in that arena. However, in making presentations, of course, I bring the
Yes.
statistics, and in
Yeah.
working with certain groups of people, I try to make sure that I understand, where things are with them. Statistics show that this area of expertise is definitely one that you may want to pursue. So I
Yeah.
look at that kind of information. I do. Hmm.
Yeah. 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 So as we count down to running out of time, unfortunately, it's gone incredibly quickly. What do you have planned for the future? Tell me what Aletha in 5 years' time might look like.
Sure. Wow. Um,
Mhm.
I would love, and this is definitely some place that I'm working.
Yeah.
I want to be in a place where I can encourage women, of course, continuing to give them the tools that are needed to help them to
Yeah.
grow. But also, I want to spend a lot more time around the journey. I think
Yes.
sharing our journey makes such a huge impact. It's our legacy.
Absolutely.
It's empowering for women who are going through things that are similar to ours. It's
Yeah.
empowering for women who are dealing with, how do I maneuver getting the child out the front door and me getting to work, to the
Yep.
woman who is, has someone to do all of that for her,
Yeah.
and she's managing a company of thousands. So
Yeah.
I think sharing our journey is going to be so powerful and monumental. And I really want to do a lot more work around that. So I'll
Yes.
have more journey shares, more intimate groups, and
Yeah.
larger groups. And of course, I'll be taking every opportunity I can to help people to dig down into and to find their
Find those.
passions.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I I kind of think that somewhere along the line we've lost um that ability to connect and share, and we
Hmm.
seem to be getting back into sharing our stories more, which is part of being human. Sharing our stories is an ancient custom, and particularly for
Yes.
women, that
Hmm.
importance of sharing each other's stories is
Hmm.
so valuable in helping us to deal with life and life in general. And that's a wonderful aspiration, Aletha, to have that, and that concept of telling your journey and relating it
Mhm.
to other people is just fantastic. I can see that it's very much one of your passions, and
Yes.
it's been wonderful talking to you today.
Thank
Before we
you.
run out of time and I need to talk to Peter, just quickly tell the listeners and watchers the name of your company and its website, your book and
Sure.
where they can get it, and your Facebook.
Absolutely. I am on Facebook at Jolise Enterprises. That's Jolease. I
Yeah.
am also, my website is the same,
Yes. Uh-huh.
joliseenterprises.com. And my book is called 50 Things I've Learned on My Way to 50, Sharing My Journey. And you can
Mm-hmm.
also find that on my website, and it's available at Amazon as well.
Oh, fantastic. I've also got Aletha's details and information and her links to her book on BBS Radio / Radio Tony. It's also on the Radio Tony website, and it's also on Passion Maps. So there are lots of avenues for you to connect with Aletha. Please feel free to reach out, connect with Aletha, ask her any questions you have, either about HR or passion mapping.
Yes.
And I really look forward to seeing what you do in the future, Aletha. And before I let you go, I want to see if I can get Peter back on, because he
Okay.
always likes to he always likes to say hi at the end of our
Yes.
interviews, and he's
Okay.
probably got some questions as well. Hello,
Do
Peter.
you?
Hi, how
Hi,
are you?
Peter.
Lovely to
I'm
see you,
great.
Alicia.
Good
Lovely to
seeing
listen to your
you.
story. Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
yeah. And thank you, Toni, for the interview. It's
We've
lovely.
had a wonderful
Absolutely. Thank
discussion.
you very much.
It's my absolute pleasure for you to come on Radio Tony and the Passion Project today. And we will be able to send you the link to the program later on in the day. And
Great.
today, Peter and I, so feel free to stay on the show, that's fine. Peter
Okay.
and I are going to be talking a little bit more about my own passion mapping journey. And our
Great.
subject for today is visioning. Over to you,
Mm,
Peter.
Yeah, well, I could start by saying this is your passion map. This is your journey. I'm just a guide, or uh,
True, true.
and really, it's all about how you connect with the vision, and we've done a process, as you know, to
Yes,
have something arise from the future. So yeah, and as I do want to say something about visioning, because we
yes,
use a particular technique which we call visioning rather than visualizing.
yeah,
And most people, when they try and do a sort of a process about the future, are visualizing. They're using um, guiding a client or guiding themselves to a place where their imagination can fill in and create a picture of the future, because a vision is
yeah.
about the picture that we can see.
Mm.
And so there's a number of ways of visualizing, but we're talking about visioning, where the vision actually seems to have its own reality. It
Yes,
seems to have its own authenticity,
yes,
and it arises. And sometimes that's a rich picture that you've experienced before, and
yeah.
sometimes it's not. So I'd like to just ask you, Toni, as to how you experienced that. And I know there are elements of that were the same and elements are different. If you can just tell us,
Yeah.
what that was. Thanks.
So the process is really simple, and it's just actually boils down to making sure that you're in a quiet, safe space. It's a closed eye experience, or it was for me, and I was actually able to see a big vision, and complete with colors and noise and smells and feelings. And it was a lovely process of, and there were some surprises in there. So I'll share with you that uh, I sort of floated between the vision of a huge big eagle with great big wings that was really high up in the sky and looking down. So I sort of went from the vision of the big eagle back down to a property, a beachfront property that was rather beautiful, and I could see and smell and feel the sea breeze and some sea mist. And so it was a very real vision for me. And along with that vision, there were some accompanying thoughts that linked directly to my passion map. And those things were around Radio Toni, which is obviously one of my great passions. There was also about financial abundance, because the place where I was physically situated was, you know, quite opulent and lovely. There was no sense of where that was, so it could be anywhere in the world. But it was quite a powerful process, and even today, 24 hours later, I still have that vision in my head. I can still connect with it quite easily. So I don't know, Peter, if that's similar for everyone, but I've always had a huge, big imagination. So perhaps that's easier for me than some other people.
Yeah, I think my sense of that is that you're deeply connected with yourself, and so it was almost like this process is a bit like the icing on the cake.
Yes,
Your
very
cake's already
much.
in place.
Yeah,
But I will say that generally, we can vision from different places. We can vision from our heads,
yes,
from our memory, from our hearts, particularly
yeah,
a negative reaction to something that we didn't like.
yeah,
And we can use our imagination. And that's all fine, and that's all a human capability. But when we allow something to come from the essence of who we are,
yeah,
it can be much bigger, because
yeah,
the essence of who we are is much more than we ever realize.
yeah,
And in fact, when we are connected to the essence of who we are, and in its purest sense, we're really connected to everything.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there's no limits to the vision.
yeah,
And from that sense of deep trust in ourselves and deep connection and deep power, that comes with that, visions can, be extraordinary. Um,
that was one of my questions, Peter. Um, Even as I'm talking to you now, I get little glimpses of other things that come into that vision that are all parts of my passion map, but uh, uh, little glimpses of, uh, going to a restaurant and having a really nice meal at a beautiful restaurant, and paying for the meal for the group of the people that are there, or the feel of the little car that I might drive. Those sorts of things keep coming in and out as well. I guess that all falls into that whole vision exercise, no doubt.
yeah, I call those sort of vision fragments.
Yes, yes, that's a good description. Yep, yep,
They're little precious little bits of vision, and they
yeah,
can come from dreams. They can come from thoughts. They can, come from, someone else, and you think, well,
yeah,
wow, that's me too.
yeah,
It's about being open to that, and it's
yeah,
about all of this comes from actually trust in ourselves,
yeah,
because if we really accept ourselves, we're accepting the world as well. So when those fragments come, or those little
yeah,
vignettes of vision,
yeah,
um, we can accept them as being meaningful.
yeah,
Whereas if we're not connected and we're more stressed and whatever, they just come and go, and we don't perhaps even
yeah,
notice them. So this whole sort of capacity of the vision is really the same capacity as being able to be ourselves.
yeah,
And if you
yeah,
think about someone like Steve Jobs, for example,
yeah,
I mean, Steve Jobs from nowhere created these incredible visions that led to really changing the whole world in many
So
ways.
he had visions as well, visions of what he wanted his future to be.
Absolutely, and
Oh,
he's actually, if you look up Steve Jobs, vision quotes, there's quite a few
yes,
online
yeah,
because he was a visionary.
yes,
And what is a visionary other than someone who has powerful visions
visions.
of the future?
Mhm, mhm.
And I think in some respects, you're a visionary. You have a much bigger sense of what this Radio
Yeah,
Tony could be than
yeah,
it is
yeah,
now.
yeah.
And Alethea is a visionary in the sense of what she
Yes,
sees the
yes,
world of women unfolding.
yes.
And
Absolutely.
so we all have this.
Mm.
And the question is, how do we most get it, access to it, and
Yeah,
how do we use it? And we use it really by staying in touch with it
yeah,
and almost letting it go. Like just being really clear. That's my vision. That's what I'm working towards, and
yeah.
let things go. And I guess the biggest thing about vision, it allows you to say no to things.
Yes, very much.
So it sets a direction for our life, and we can say no to things.
Yeah,
And who hasn't got to the end of the day and done a whole lot of things that weren't what they wanted to do, but they've
absolutely.
done them for other people, or they've been distracted. And
Yeah,
meanwhile, that's a day of their life. They haven't actually moved towards their sort of potential.
yeah, yeah. I think that the power of that passion map is in directing your focus and discarding what shouldn't be there. And that's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing for me, particularly because, and I had this discussion with my audience on my earlier show about that. Filling up your own cup before you can give to others, and that ability to have a passion map and a clear vision gives you power to do that in a very definite way. Gives you the power to put boundaries around people and things, gives you the power to say, no, that's actually not right for me. And it doesn't have to be a big public thing, it can be a very personal thing that just gives you that power to say no. And as with Aletha, I'm sure that her passion map does the same thing for her and any of the other people who've done this wonderful process. It's powerful in giving you clarity and helping you make decisions around your life and your life journey, because we do only have one life. And what we do now, we can leave a legacy, and we can create lots of stuff, but at the end of the day, we've just got one life. Why not live it passionately?
Yeah. And why not on our, deathbeds look back and say, I've truly
Yeah,
lived my life.
yeah,
In fact, the research on regrets when people die,
yes,
one of the top ones is, I haven't lived my life.
yeah. I've
I
lived
haven't
my
lived my
life
own life.
in doing what other people wanted me to do
Yeah,
rather than living what I was meant to do. And I didn't
absolutely.
realize, sorry, Peter, I didn't realize that so many people uh, had not thought about this before. It was evidenced in my show this morning that people had not thought a lot about, life was generic for them. You go to work, you come home, you put food on the table, and that's about it. And they're so busy doing life and helping other people that they've failed to recognize that they're not living their life. They're doing life, they're not living life.
Absolutely. I'm reminded of a scary saying, a woman
Yeah,
saying, I go to work to make the money, to buy the clothes, to go to work, to make the money, to buy the clothes,
yeah,
to go to work, to make the money, to buy the clothes, etc.,
yeah,
etc. And
yeah.
in fact, the whole genesis of my work came from a place of, hell, I don't know what the hell I want to do. Like, and and a friend of mine likens this time of transition to having a playing card. You have
Yeah.
a card like this, and the past goes. You don't want to be there, so it moves
Yeah.
on its edge. But when it's on its edge, the new one hasn't arisen. The other's
Yeah.
gone. There's nothing there. You're
Yeah.
balancing, and then it turns over, and you can
Yeah.
see the other side of the card. So I like that as a metaphor for this time of transition. And I think,
Yeah.
I've loved working with and training people to work with people in
Yeah.
transition, because it's a natural place to be completely disoriented.
Yes.
And then, and my sense is that so many people judge themselves for being
Oh, yes.
disoriented. Like, I should know what I need to do. I should know this. I should know that. And I think shoulding your life is not a good thing to do.
Agreed. It's been one of my biggest struggles around I should be doing this, I should be doing that, and getting that out of my mind and changing that thought pattern, so that rather than should, do I need to, is that, no more shoulds, trying to stop should and remove should from my vocabulary, because it causes me to just stop still and procrastinate and not do, because I feel, um, I tend to feel bad about should, and I tend to, uh, still, even after all the work that I've done, I still tend to see myself in other people's eyes as should be doing this or should be doing that, instead of my eyes and my vision and my passion. And again, a wonderful conversation about self-compassion and self-kindness versus self-esteem. And once you start being kind to yourself, life takes on a whole new beautiful meaning and allows you to tap into those things that you are passionate about. And that's not going to be the same for everyone. My passions aren't going to be Peter's or Aletha's. They're very individual to individual people. And that's part of the power of what passion mapping does, is it grabs that individual that you are and throws them up in front of you. So you go, oh yeah, okay, I've forgotten that I felt that way about that thing. Do you find that, Peter?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think there's, I'm reluctant to use the word sometimes, but the word
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah.
But when people are connected to the essence of what is important for them,
Yeah.
there's no logic to the way that
No.
is.
You got to forget about logic.
Yeah, it comes from a different place. It comes from a sense of soulfulness.
Yeah.
And it's expressed through the physical body. So all
Yes.
those shoulds, if you write down the shoulds and you connect with your physicality around them, they have no energy. They either have none or
They
they
don't.
have negative. They have contracting energy.
Yeah.
And our process is all about how do we expand ourselves.
Yes.
Don't we want to live a life that's, as good as
Yeah.
it can be?
Yeah.
And if we don't, why not? Why don't we, given this incredibly precious
Yes.
life? And I think that's one of the other issues. So we don't value it. We don't value the fact that we have this incredibly beautiful life. We live in an
Yes.
incredibly beautiful world.
Mm.
And then, I guess it's not necessarily so easy if to say that if you're in a favela in Sao Paulo,
Yeah.
or if, so there are a lot of people who probably can't get to that point because they're still struggling to get to a sense of,
And stuck.
self-sustainability, really. And then until that's really met, it's hard to think about what's possible.
Some of the listeners were asking about this, and I actually said that for me, and in the hope that it would help them, that you just need to start small. And if you're thinking about doing some of this work and finding your passions, and in particular doing a passion mapping exercise, then it's important that you start to understand a little bit about mindfulness. So even if it starts with a minute or 5 minutes a day where you just sit. Whatever is in your brain is in your brain, but that 5 minutes is yours. No one else can ring you, talk to you, get to you, do anything. And I said to one of the guys, go to the loo, close the door, don't let anyone in for 5 minutes, and just let your mind wander. And once you start to get used to that, then you can start to really get into some of this really good stuff and examine your life, find your passions, and start to live them. And after a short amount of time, you'll look back and go, oh, wow, that started with 5 minutes. So I actually very much believe that you can change your life starting with a very small amount of time and work on that. And don't look at it as, oh, I have to do this, this, this. Again, that should and have. And another powerful part of the visioning and passion mapping for me is that to embrace my unique human being as Toni. And I don't need to compare myself to anyone else or what anyone else is doing. And for some people, that's really difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, especially with the media.
Yes.
I mean, the media
Yes.
throws up all of these people, the Michael Jordans or
Yes.
the people who are top of their field.
Yes.
That's what gets media coverage. And in fact,
Yeah.
what's important is we do what's authentic for us. And if that's raising, a really healthy family, that's
Yes.
as far as the vision needs to go. It's
Absolutely.
or it could be a Nelson Mandela vision of
Yes.
really bringing peace to the world in a way. So this authenticity and getting rid of the chatter in our
Yes.
mind that allows us to go there, because if there's this surface sort of chatter happening, we don't get to go down. I'd recommend anybody who hasn't done some sort of mindfulness to do so. It doesn't have to be sitting. It can be walking, but to
anywhere.
Practice noticing how busy your mind is and letting it go.
Yeah.
And one of the things about that is we can't be what we can observe.
Mm-hmm.
So if we observe our thoughts, we're not our thoughts.
Yeah.
If we observe our feelings, we're not our feelings.
Yeah.
If we can observe all of this, then we can only observe it from our essence.
Yeah.
Which is where we want to be connected to, I think, all the time.
Definitely. That's where we should, that's where our lives should arise from. That inner being, inner passion, that's the place where people start to live their highest selves. And again, you've only got one life. Why not live it to the best of your ability? And it goes, and it doesn't have, like, if you come from a place of trauma, or life has not been good to you, just starting today and doing a small step will take you out of that trauma, and your healing will commence. And it'll be a journey, like Elise says and talks about. Everyone's journey is different. They're all powerful, and no one journey is better than another.
Yeah, we just happen to be given a life, and it's a precious gift. And how do we live it to the best of our ability? And how do we not be too influenced by other people? It's great to have role models and to say, look, I want this quality in so-and-so. I want to be able to perform well. But as you say, we don't want to compare ourselves with other people.
No.
Because it reduces
it's very hard not to do that sometimes.
It is hard to do it, and it's practice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we don't do it. I mean, we will do it, but we can at least catch ourselves and saying, no, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
I notice the thought. I'm not the thought.
Yeah.
And I have a T-shirt that says, "Don't believe everything you think." So,
that's great.
it's interesting when I wear it around how many people say, "Wow, that's so true. That's so true. That's so true." You know, what our thoughts are not really who we are. They
They
don't necessarily
definitely
rise
are.
from who we are.
Yeah, yeah,
And it takes practice and training and commitment, really, to get to the point where you live from who you are. And that's a joyous, blissful place. I call
wonderful
it the bliss.
place.
I call it the bliss of being,
Yeah, yeah.
when
And
we're
that's,
not
and
influenced by.
imagine the world that we would have if every human being was able to live in that space.
Yeah, I think we're both working to that, Toni.
Yeah, yeah,
We're both working towards being of service to people who
yeah,
can live their lives more authentically, to create more authentic families, organizations,
yeah.
collective people, and to come from the essence of a humanness.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, a more human world, but at the same
yeah.
time, being very connected to the environment. So we're not doing that at the expense of animals and the environment.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on that note, I believe that we are out of time again. Thank you so much, Peter. It's wonderful to do this Radio Toni and the Passion Project with you. It's just such a gift to me, and I'm really grateful that I can do it with you as my partner.
Well, thank you, Toni. It's great to be part of your journey as well.
All right. And that's all for now, listeners. Join us all next week with Peter Wallman and Toni Lonis on Radio Toni and the Passion Project. Over to you, Don. Thank you for joining us on Radio Toni this week. Tune in next week for the next episode of Radio Toni and the Passion Project. Live streaming each week, part of the journey. Discover your passion, learn about your purpose, and connect with Toni and Peter. This show is proudly brought to you by Passion Maps. https://www.passionmaps.com. That's www.passionmaps.com. Live passionately every day. Use the code TONI to register for your own online deep dive program with Passion Maps. See you all next week. Bye for now.